as writers and content creators, you should never pander to what the audience wants. That is actually what most content creators will do.
Hey guys, yes, season 5 memang sudah berakhir, tapi kita punya satu episode buat kalian. Satu episode ini adalah di saat gue diajak IdeaFest untuk interview salah satu akun Instagram yang bantu banget banyak orang di luar sana untuk adulting.
Like some people translate our content, then they repost it on their own page, right? And their post has more shares than our post, and that's very annoying. But thank you very much, but we can't okay it.
Akun Instagram ini banyak ngomong tentang adulting, terutama di sisi finansial. Ada satu posting yang menurut gue sangat kena banget di sini adalah saat salah satu foundernya ngobrol tentang ibunya, ngomongin tentang ibunya. It hits me right here, man.
All I wanted to write about was something like for Mother's Day and something for my mom to make her know that I treasure her, because I never said it when she did not have the stroke. I only say it after she got the stroke. And the thing is that after a stroke, you kind of get like short-term memory loss. So even though I tell her like, I love you mom, she will not remember it.
Without further ado, ini adalah The Woke Salaryman, Hey Ming dan Go Wei Chun. Enjoy.
Hello, you're listening to 30 Days of Lunch.
A lot of say that a lot of people can draw beautifully, a lot of people can tell stories, but what do you think they make you guys different with others? What makes you successful?
Kau dulu lah.
Okay, no need
first.
to
Yeah.
fight. It's
Yeah,
fine.
so actually I think Wei Chun is like a big part of the success.
Okay.
So I mean, I've worked with a lot of artists over the years, and especially when it comes to tackling the more difficult topics. So for example, when I was in advertising, I would write about things like I'll work on campaigns about like oil and gas, or government campaigns, or even finance. And a lot of these topics are very, very difficult. I think what's great about Wei Chun is that he actually, as an artist, he takes time to understand what he is drawing. Because sometimes when you're not interested in anything, you'll just like do the bare minimum. You'll just make you don't really understand the concept, right? Maybe it's kind of like making a pun. Like for example, if I was a copywriter and I wanted to promote like a bank, I might just say, CIMB Bank, not sponsored. CIMB Bank, just raise its interest rates. Isn't that interesting? But then that's just a pun, you don't really go deeper. But I think it's kind of like similar for artists as well. Like Wei Chun takes the time to understand like the different concepts that actually allow him to kind of portray the concept in art form better.
Yeah, but I think you raised a good point, because you said a lot of people can draw beautifully.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first to admit, if you look at the art on our website, we are not the most beautiful artwork. And that's not what we're trying to be also. And part of why, when I draw on my own capacity, because I'm an artist for fun also, I like drawing, right? I do color, I do dynamic compositions and all that stuff. But part of the design of Woke Salaryman is that we have to go fast. That's why it's black and white. That's why it's a bit sketchier. Like, I'm a huge fan of Griselda. She's amazing, and I've learned so much from her Tuesday tips. Huge fan of hers, and I've learned so much from her. But there's no way, I think, me as an artist, as much as I try, I cannot fight that same game, and I'm not interested in that also. It's a beautiful game, and I have deep respect for it. But I think where I like to be right now is to learn about like really complex topics. Yeah. So I think also a good lesson, I think, for anyone who's a creator, you can't just think about your role as is defined. Like, it always helps a lot to always look for opportunities to go beyond. So if he gives me something about, say, compounding interest, how interest will compound over time, I won't just draw the graph as people see it. I would think about, is there a metaphor behind it that I could use? Is it a staircase that gets higher and higher? Is it, I don't know, a series of trampolines that get stronger and stronger? I always try to think about using not just my skills as an artist, but also as a storyteller to really bring out the essence of things. Yeah.
Can you explain how the creative process works from the beginning until it's becoming a content?
So actually, most of the content starts with me, and I think I like to be involved in this process called, I think it's called the spark. It's like where the initial idea comes from. So it used to be like based on my personal experiences. For example, like when my mom got a stroke, I wrote a story about it. When I was trying to save $100,000, I wrote something about it. But I think these days it comes from like just browsing through the internet, and I'll look at what people comment. And when I see like a comment I disagree with, or like I feel like he's 60% right, but actually it lacks the 40%, I start to think like maybe we can explore the 40% in a comic. And usually these are the comics. These are the content. These are the comments that are like very, very upvote. So for example, if I see a comment online that say like companies by hiring people, they are exploiting the workers. And I'll feel like, oh, that's not quite right, because now as a business owner, I kind of know like companies pay people before they. I mean, it's like a willing buyer, willing seller situation. So I would write something to kind of like counter that comment. So usually most of our stuff, right, starts on Google Sheets. You know, like
Google Docs. Sheets is the Excel one.
Oh no,
So we
okay.
use
Google Slides. Google Slides.
Yeah,
Google Slides.
yeah.
So it's very cheap one lah. There's nothing fancy. So I just create like a 20-word document just full of text, and then I expect Wei Shun to draw the thing based on the text.
And then you hand it over.
Yeah. Then over to you.
Then I draw it lah.
Okay lah. Like that.
But it's very cool because one of the things that comes with taking ownership of that storytelling process also is when I look at it as an artist, I don't just draw what he gives me. I will talk to him about it and I will explore different ways. Sometimes I'll rearrange the text. Sometimes I might add slides, I might take away slides. And it makes it harder to work with somebody like that, but also good because we are collaborators on this and the content becomes better because once it reaches me, I'm not just a vendor that executes his vision. I'm also thinking about how I understand it. But one of my biggest roles as a work Salaryman, I like to call myself the layman advocate. Meaning if I don't understand something, and I know a little bit about personal finance, but if I can't understand it, then we probably have to tone it down a bit more to make it more understandable. So I think taking ownership of that storytelling is a big part of you just also being part of that production process, not just I execute the thing and then that's my job done.
Yeah, and I think of course it's not easy. I think Wei Shun and I we fight quite often, right?
Yeah, not physically.
Yeah, not physically. I think he will win.
Argue lah.
Yeah, but we kind of argue. I think in the beginning, like one of our largest arguments was like, because Wei Shun's an artist, right? He wants to make sure like everything is perfect before it gets out. But on the other hand, I knew we were running like a content page, so I wanted to publish things every 10 days. So I think in the beginning we had like a huge argument because he worked on a story and it took like maybe over 20 days. And he didn't want to publish it.
But he was right, because done is better than perfect. Yeah, perfection is like
Done
a
is better
diminishing
than
curve.
perfect.
Yeah, it takes longer and longer, and then you're seeing like 3% increase in quality. Not worth it at some point. So I need somebody like that to push me also.
So what are the challenges during that creative process besides that fight, basically? What are the other challenges, like probably creative block or the content doesn't really responding? What are the challenges?
Okay, so for me, just to finish off that creative process, like in terms of the production part, right? The biggest problem for me is my ego actually, because it's been like this for a long time, but I sort of judge my own quality by the drawings that I do. So a lot of times when I get a piece of writing, right, I'm thinking about how to show my ability to prove that I'm still good at drawing. And sometimes I would do it to the point where I fight with the text. Because comics, for us, is a blend of text and images. But sometimes in my ego, I want to draw good things and interesting things. I will draw too much to the point where it's fighting with the text. So my biggest transformational journey here is sometimes understanding, okay, this is a text thing. So I'm going to draw a small, simple thing, and I'm going to let the text do its thing. And sometimes it'll be an artwork thing, then that's when I step out and do it. So making that call is still something I have to force myself to think about every time I draw. That's for me the big challenge.
Yeah, I think on my end, like probably because sometimes we write about stuff that is hard for people to accept. I think stuff like globalization, stuff like maybe wage stagnation,
Inequality.
like inequality, very, very controversial topics, but we feel like it's best tackled from a very objective point of view. Sometimes there will be people who kind of like hate on your content, right? Because they have like a very one-sided point of view. Sometimes, even though you've done this for maybe 5 years, so you can put out like a big shield to protect you from all the negative comments. But sometimes maybe like 1 or 2 comments do get through, and you feel like, oh man, that just ruined my day. And I think sometimes like my friends, out of concern, they will like forward me like maybe on Reddit, like they hate you, then they gather all the people that dislike you in one place. Then there's like a long comment thread about that. Yeah, sometimes it feels not so nice. So I think a lot of it is emotional management, but I feel that as writers and content creators, you should never pander to what the audience wants, because I feel like that is actually what most content creators will do. They're just following the market, which is fine. But I think it's important to have your own point of view.
What about what the client wants? Because you were talking about sponsored contents, and then you do all the creative process there, and then suddenly, it doesn't match with what the client wants. What do you do?
Yeah, so actually we reject like most of the clients. Yeah, we just say like, no, this doesn't work for us, or like, no, we don't believe in this message. But I think the reason we can do so is because like we have because personally Rachel and I, we saved up like a lot of money, so we don't need to kind of like be in a situation where you're begging for money. So I think that's one. And the other one is more of like
You got a bargaining power more.
yeah, we have bargaining power. So we get to turn them away. And I think that's very important for anyone, not just the creative.
Yeah, I think the first part is that you select the client first. I mean, you don't take all clients. I think that makes it easier for you to send your message across and get them approved.
Yeah, and I think like during COVID, it was very tempting because there were a lot of like cryptocurrencies, right?
Yeah.
I think they were willing to throw like a lot of money at us. So actually, if we did all those work, then we'll be a lot richer. But a lot richer.
But our reputation won't be as good.
We have online gambling here. You might be interested to sponsor.
Online what?
Online gambling.
Okay, we'll think about it.
Yeah, probably
think
not.
about it for the next 50
Things
years.
like, like in Singapore, we have this thing called buy now, pay later. Like they make you buy something with 0% interest rate just to make you spend. Then they're hoping that you don't pay it back on time. Things like online lending platforms also, we've heard that there's sort of it's a bit of an issue starting here in Indonesia where a lot of people are borrowing money that they don't have yet. So that kind of thing, they do come to us as well. We just turn them down.
Send them out. Okay, that's good. Your whole topic, it's about adulting. That's one of the reason why you guys are so relatable with the contents. This is the navigating adult life, which is sort of like the theme now. It's very difficult to do this. Most of this are a lot of them based on personal life, I would say, because one of the contents are about how you wish. I think Reming Wish was talking things that I wish I said to my mother before she was in a stroke.
Yeah.
I think that part was like saying that we cannot even now separate between personal life and career life or business life. In adulting, it's like everything is as one. In our personal life, if we're good, I think we can perform better in our work. And can you tell us the process of creating that content? Because that's one of the content that's relatable personally to me.
Actually, I struggled like for a very long time to create the content about my mom because the content is not really exactly financial in nature. It's about the feelings of it's about my feelings about my mom who got a stroke 10 years ago, and I have been processing these things for 10 years. So all I wanted to write about was something like for Mother's Day and something for my mom to make her know that like I treasure her, because I never said it when she did not have the stroke. I only said it after she got the stroke. And the thing is that after a stroke, you kind of get like short-term memory loss. So even though I tell her like, I love you, mom, she will not remember it until next time I see her again. But so that story was kind of like me wishing that I wish I told her that. I think one thing that maybe many young people feel nowadays is that they feel this tension with their parents, because a lot of our parents think like they know better, and sometimes they can be very dictatorial on what they want you to do. Like for example, you must study accounting, so you go study accounting. But I think it's important as a young person to realize that many of the older generation, they had challenges too. And even though sometimes we joke about how they probably had a better life than us, that's actually not really true as well, because every generation has its challenges. And I wanted that piece to acknowledge like both like our difficulties today and our parents' difficulties, and kind of hoping that once we do that, we can have like a better relation with our parents.
Yeah, I think we in the back we're talking about a lot of adulting in terms of financial, in terms of parenting, career, and everything. It's why those contents were made in your account. I think. But what do you think? What do you think is the difference between the whole Southeast Asia? I'm sure your followers is not all Singaporean. I'm sure a lot of them come from Indonesia, and most of them are here. Have you got something insights for us? What do you see in Southeast Asia in terms of this adulting theme?
Well, I think it's a bit complex, but that's why we're here. We want to see for ourselves what our regional neighbors are like, because I think the key to really Southeast Asia growing and doing well as a region is cooperation between all these parties. So again, not a sponsored post, but I love C Limited, Shopee, right? I love C Limited's slogan. Because C is SEA, Southeast Asia, right? But the slogan is connecting the dots. I really think that is the spirit of how Southeast Asia can succeed as a region. Because we're based in Singapore, and Singapore is a country with no natural resources, and the way in which Singapore has succeeded is in forging very good diplomatic and trade alliances with other parties. So this kind of spirit of cross-collaboration and cross-understanding is very important. And I think as a young person in Southeast Asia, one of the best things that you can do is really pay very close attention to the skills that are needed in this region and also around the world, because increasingly more and more these borders are being broken down. So in Singapore, one of the issues one of the things that we face a lot is that we face actually a lot of regional competition from you guys, from Malaysia, from Philippines. Because you're in the same time zone, you're just as good as we are, but you live in a place with a lower cost of living, which means that you can outprice us. If we say apply our services online on Fiverr, for example, right? There's no way a Singaporean can compete unless we are better. But I mean, people regionally are so talented. I'm an animator in training myself, and part of why I never did animation is because animation is labor intensive and labor is expensive in Singapore. That's why I do comics. Comic, I can draw one picture and then I can show the whole thing, right? I don't need to draw 24 pictures for 1 second of animation. So I really think this spirit of cross-collaboration is key, and especially for us young people, as the borders of working are broken down. Because of COVID, it has forced everything to become remote. We really need to try to understand and work with one another and use our respective strengths to all grow together as a region. I think that's the key for me. Yeah.
I think one of the things that struck me after creating content is realizing that we are very similar, like Jakarta, people in KL, people in Singapore, people in like Ho Chi Minh City. A lot of young people, like, we cannot afford homes, right? We cannot afford homes in the cities that we grew up with. Like, then our parents, they didn't plan for their retirement. So at some point, we're going to have to deal with that as well. So actually, a lot of the themes are very universal. And I think that, if we are willing to kind of, like within Southeast Asia, we are willing to like collaborate more. So for example, like people might come to Singapore for jobs, Singaporeans might go somewhere else to kind of have a low cost of living, to be less stressed.
Start a business.
Yeah, start a business,
right.
Provide jobs there as well. I think the region will be a lot better off for it. Rather than, if Singapore were to like stick alone by itself, it will suffer. And same with a lot of the other ASEAN countries. So it's important for us to stay open and talk more with one another.
Yeah, we do have a lot of similarities, but we don't have the same air quality though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry. And I like the way that your contents are really personal. Really, sometimes it's really personal. Sometimes a lot of time it's very relatable. You still see the authenticity of this account. Like, how do you make authentic account? How do you feel borderline between sharing personal stuff or sharing other stories, or just to make content and to be authentic?
So Ray said a little bit about it just now. We don't just do stuff that we think will do well.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that we can do. We call it hee hee ha ha content. It's stuff that you make and then you can just, we know what people want to see. Like things about
for example, your boss is abusing you, your boss is tricking you and that's why you're underpaid. I think people will love that stuff.
Yeah.
This will be a content with like shared like maybe 500,000 times. Yeah. But is it true? Is it like 100% true all the time? Not necessarily.
Yeah. So the way that I think like one of the core principles that I think we adhere to is that we like to be a good friend. What a good friend is that I want the best of you, but I won't just tell you things that you want to hear. Yeah. A good friend will sometimes go, hey, bro, come on, stop it. I know you don't want to hear this, but this is bad for you. So we will take the chance. Of course, we strategically do it. Yeah. We will take the chance to make content that we know people won't like to read. Like a wake-up call or a gentle slap, I think that's one key part for us in staying authentic. To be able to question and push back when we think like certain things that people are thinking might not be the full picture. Yeah.
Because you also don't want to be a slave to your audience, right? A lot of people say like, don't be a slave to my employer. But you also don't want to be a slave to your audience. So like the moment you disagree with them, then they all abandon you. I mean, you don't want that situation. You want people who can see like multiple points of view. You want people who have empathy for even people that are seemingly very different from them, and that's the type of audience that we are trying to cultivate, not just in Singapore but in Southeast Asia and in the future.
Yeah. Before you started TWS and then suddenly up until now, do you think you achieved what you have started, what you were what your objectives were in the beginning? Have you achieved it now, or is there something more from the woke salaryman in the future?
Well, I think in the beginning, the goal was to survive for 6 months. So
Achieved.
Yay.
yeah, so we have achieved that.
Yeah.
And I do think like in our home country, Singapore, we have sort of achieved, talk more about financial literacy, but there's just so much more to do. I mean, Singapore is just a very tiny country. I say tiny too many times. Country in Southeast Asia,
small,
right? If we can convert our content into like Bahasa or Vietnamese, it reach so much more people and help people. So in the future, we might look beyond Singapore to see what we can do.
But you see, from Vietnam, there's a lot of content using your pictures in their language. It's more likes than
Oh yeah. We were telling Ariel some people translate our content, then they repost it on their own page, right? And their post has more shares than our post, and that's very annoying. But we used to be very annoyed about that. But I mean, it's okay lah. Yeah, we just cannot because there are a lot of very nice people from Indon got a lot actually. They'll message us and say, hey, we translated your thing from into Indon because we think more people should listen to this advice.
Yeah.
And then but we can't endorse it because we don't know whether the
language.
information is translated properly or not.
Yeah.
So now we just go, thank you very much, but we can't okay it, But it's very nice. We hope to be able to next time do it more consistently so we can translate. Because we make content so fast that if we have to put in another part of the pipeline which is to translate, then it will make us a lot slower. So we haven't done that yet.
But you guys have helped a lot of people in adulting. Help them with the message. What matters more is the message, right? The message got across. So
I hope so.
I think so.
Okay, thank
I think
you.
so. I'm sure of. So do you think you got that message across with this amount of followers, engagements, likes? You feel
I think
happy
yes.
about it?
I think in Singapore, yes, yeah.
Yeah, but I think also
Have you changed people though?
I think so because we are not the perfect role models also. We are not. The woke salaryman is not us. The woke salaryman is a vision that we have of this thing and we are not that. We sometimes buy stupid things. There are vices that we like spending money on that we shouldn't also. But I feel like it's a certain mindset that we would like to just put out into the world and then you can consider whether this is something you want. I think it's a bit like you go to the kind of restaurant where you take a bit here, take a bit there. So there's a woke salaryman plate, I think it's there. People know that it's there. If you want to add it to your plate, then you can take lah. I think that's success to me already lah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Wei Chun. Thank you, Reming, for sharing with us. Give a round of applause.
Thank you.
The contents are amazing. They help us in adulting. I hope they have all of you as well. So thank you very much. Thanks again.